Hey guys, it's Luke here from LT Gaming, and welcome back to all you LT gamers. Today I have another special treat for you. We have a new announcement of an SGS strategy game, and that is SGS We The People, which is very excitingly set in the American Revolution. But before we dive into this, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. The channel is still growing really fast, and me and Tom appreciate all of the interaction. I have of course covered a number of SGS titles on the channel, including Montezuma, Taipings and the upcoming Nato's Nightmare, and I have had chance to speak to Philippe, who is the founder of Avalon Digital, the studio behind the games. One of the cool things from me about the SGS titles, and I've alluded to this before, is the fact that they enable you to learn about periods of history that you might not be familiar with. That was really evident with Montezuma and also Taipings. Now, I do understand the general course of the American Revolutionary War, taking place between 1775 and 1783, but I wasn't really that into the details. And playing this game, I have learned a lot more, and I've got to say, I think the British might have been the good guys. On a serious note though, I have learned a lot about the Indian involvement in the war and how the British freed slaves to fight for them, which I thought was very interesting. Unfortunately, modern Hollywood films like The Patriot have portrayed the war in a really ridiculous fashion. None of those war crimes that happened in that film actually happened in reality. And of course the British are portrayed as the bad guys and the Americans as the good guys. Of course the truth is somewhere in the middle. Both sides had their calls, both sides had their fight, and eventually the Americans came out on top. This is reflected very well in the game that I have played so far. If you're aggressive as the British, you should win, and it is the Americans' goal to try and delay this as long as possible until French intervention. This is reflected well in the game because if Howe had pushed harder before 1777, he probably could have destroyed Washington's army. And this is the goal of the player, to be aggressive if you're the British and to delay if you are the Americans. Now of course it must be said that the version that I have was given to me very early by Philippe, which I appreciate, and I have been enjoying it greatly despite it not being finished yet. I have spoken at length in my other SGS videos about how I love the presentation of this game, and this one is no different. The artwork is absolutely beautiful and I love the uniforms on the British and American colonial troops. It just looks absolutely great. The combat plays out well, and it is reflected on a very large scale, and I think the SGS games do that exceptionally well. So far, even in this early state, the Grand Campaign is over 200 turns. I've played about 50 turns into a British campaign. I've been pretty aggressive and I'm doing quite well, but new things happen all the time and the French intervention clock is ticking upwards. When the French enter the war, I better be ready. I've also had a brief interaction with the main guy developing this, and he let me know that it's based on one of his favourite war games, Avalon Hill 1776. Also, it relies on some of the work that Philippe did at Ageode on wars in America. So the game has a really solid pedigree, and I think many wargamers will appreciate this. The developer also let me know that the biggest challenge facing the game is balance. The British should win if they are aggressive, as we previously discussed. However, he wants to create challenges and obstacles that the player can put in front of the British blitzkrieg. Key components that will be used include weather, supply, terrain, and the ability to slow the advance of large forces. Of course, French intervention is critical and has several components to create some uncertainty. One mechanic that will be in the game, which wasn't in it when I played it, will be regional loyalty, and the developer envisions a system of regions and structures that can resist the opposing side, so perhaps even a system where objectives can be uncaptured. I think this creates a really interesting dynamic and adds something new to the SGS titles. So I align very much with the developer that the end result will hopefully recreate the war, but not so rigidly that the outcome is already decided. The player has to be able to win with both sides, but also face challenges, so the British need to face challenges to their initial strong position. The game will include a grand campaign, as we've already discussed, and I have played that grand campaign, but will also include several small scenarios that the player can jump into a little bit more easily. So I'm going to sum this one up. I've played about 10 hours of a very early build of this game, and I've had an absolutely brilliant time. Any historical wargamer is going to find this to be an absolute joy, and the version that I played was very early, so we will try and follow up with another more detailed video. This wasn't even as far along as SGS NATO's Nightmare when I did the preview on that game. The game does not yet have a Steam store page, but I'll leave a link to the SGS website in the description below. But definitely keep an eye on it and wishlist it when it comes to Steam, especially if you're an avid wargamer. I did ask Philippe for a release date and he said to me hopefully July 4th, which would be pretty cool, but the game may be slightly delayed and he wasn't able to give me a concrete deadline for this one yet. But anyway, do keep an eye on the development. It's really exciting to have another SGS preview on the channel, and we built a really strong relationship with Philippe and his team at Avalon Digital. But we do stay neutral. If we have criticisms to make or we make new videos on this, we will of course update you as to what we think. But I'm pretty sold on this one, guys. I absolutely love it. Me and Tom love the direction that the channel is going, so make sure to get involved and leave a comment or let us know what you think of our videos. We appreciate it so much. I've been Luke from LT Gaming, and as always, I'll catch you on the next one.